Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome everybody in the Bruce Lee Academy. If you are watching this live, please do me a massive favor. In the comments, just put hashtag live. Let us know where you are tuning in from in the world and give us a little mood check-in. Number 1 for absolutely rubbish. Number 5 for amazing. Let me see how everybody is feeling in here this evening. So for those of you who watch on the replay, thank you so much for checking this out. This video is going to be stored and saved in the vault in this group for many weeks and months to come. So if you don't catch this live, do not worry, it is being recorded. It amazes me now how many people still ask me, is this being recorded? Everything gets recorded. So you are all right. So let me just have a quick shout out to a few people. Nikki, Julie, live at 5, amazing. Nikki, Shropshire, Paula, checking in at 4, which is nice. Tracy, North Wales, Suzanne in good old Yorkshire, Tanya, a 5. Couldn't remember if 1 or 5. That's amazing. Okay, welcome everybody. So very, very, very special live training tonight, and like I say, this is going to be good for a while. Now, I fully admit to every single one of you, and then I base what I teach you and train you or provide for you based on your recommendations. And we had a couple of our group members in the Bruce Lee Academy spend the last couple of months doing other challenges with other people, which is amazing. And this one challenge that Julie and another couple of members did, they raved about. It was all about MailChimp. And a name kept propping up. You got to get Robin Adams. You got to get Robin Adams. You got to get Robin Adams. And so I reached out to the guy, and we set a date, which is today, and we set a topic, which is fantastic. And what we're going to do tonight is Robin's going to walk us through a 20 to 30 minute presentation about MailChimp. He's going to go right to the basics, which is amazing. He's going to unpack it all. And he's going to tie it together nicely. And then we're going to finish with Q&A. Now, we've got Q&A from people that couldn't make it live. We'll go through a few of them. And of course, if you've got any questions, for those that do watch this live, you will also get a chance to ask questions as Robin is going. We can't answer them all because we'll be here until tomorrow. But we will try. I will try and pick out the best. So without further ado, I want to bring on the main man himself. Let me just flip my screen slightly so we can get Robin in as well. Robin, buddy, thank you so much for doing this. Could you just spend a couple of minutes just giving everybody a brief outline about yourself, about what you do, where you are in the world, and then yeah, we'll crack straight in. The floor, as they say, is yours.
Which basically means that I use technology and looking at things. Have we got? Is it muted, Mark? Because I'm just seeing some of the messages.
We're good. We're good. For 1 minute, we didn't have sound. Keep on going, buddy.
All right, I'll bang on. All right, so basically, about 10 years ago, I started working with small businesses, start working for myself, and got into helping small businesses from a general point of view. Did some WordPress stuff, web design, got involved in video, did that for a couple of years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, had basically reached an understanding of MailChimp where I suddenly realized that it was a good opportunity for me to help other people with MailChimp. Really getting into what people want to use MailChimp for. So I always jokingly say I'm 51% marketer and 49% geek. And the geek stuff really helps from the MailChimp side of things. So pretty much for the last 4 years, my business has grown and developed 100% focused on using MailChimp and helping businesses of all creed, color, all around the world to get to grips with MailChimp. And in the last 12 months, I've become a MailChimp partner. I'm certified, so I've gone through MailChimp's training program. So I'd like to believe I know what I'm talking about now. And I've got a little badge to prove it, as it were. And, but the big thing that I did was when I niched down into MailChimp, I launched my Facebook group, which is the MailChimp Answers Facebook group, which is now the largest community of MailChimp users in the world, with nearly 10,000 members in there. And that's a great place, completely free. It's not just me. There's a number of other experts in there as well. And we basically share the information and help people get more from MailChimp. And then if they want to go to the next level and actually have me working with them on a one-to-one basis on their account, and obviously how it integrates with their overall marketing approach, then, kind of like they can do that as well. So pretty much when it comes down to MailChimp, I'm your man.
Nice. Yeah, we were having a nice chat before we came live, and yeah, it's fantastic to be able to have the opportunity to have you in the group and going through MailChimp, because as I was saying, I would say about 90% of the people that are watching this live, 90% of the people that are tuning in on the replay will already know of MailChimp, will be using MailChimp in some way, shape or form. We do a thing here which is all about a 5-day giveaway, and I show hospitality owners how they can use the power of Facebook giveaways to increase your email list. And that day of training, we use MailChimp. So everybody has like a sort of general idea, but I really wanted to get you in because you niche down fully on MailChimp, which is awesome to be able to do this. So in the comments, everybody, and yes, it was my bad. It was my bad with the sound. I had Robin muted, but we are good. If your phone isn't working, if your computer isn't working, just refresh the screen, come out, come back in, and it will be absolutely fine. But for everybody in the comment section, I just want for you to let Robin know how you would rate your level of MailChimpness. So 1 for absolutely rubbish. I've looked at it. I've never sent an email before. That's 1. 5 would be, yeah, I'm sound. I know what I'm doing. I'm used to tags. I'm using the automation. I'm sending campaigns at least once a week. So let's give yourself a little rating. 1 for rubbish, 5 for amazing. Whilst we're doing that, Robin, could you, because you're going to share your screen.
Yep.
So could you just line that up, touch wood?
Already, I'm sitting here kind of like I actually even logged into my system and tested it earlier today to make sure that it worked with. So hopefully, if you share your screen, I've got my presentation up here, and I should be able to go for it.
So in Skype, you should be able to click that share screen button. And
yeah, I can just find my. Where is it now? I've got to bounce over to the Skype.
All right. So while we're doing that, we've got some 1s, we've got some 3s, we've got we've got quite a few 3s, which is nice. Let me know when your screen is up, and we will.
Got it now. So ready to roll.
All right.
So if you just want to confirm that I've selected the screen, I do actually have to click the start sharing button as well. That's always a good sign.
There you go. All right. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to get rid of that. And right, we can now see your screen. So Robin, I'm going to leave it with you, buddy. Off you go and walk
Great
us through
stuff. Okay, so kind of like as Mark was saying, what I'll do is I've basically got a little presentation, which is, it's a good multi-level presentation, for want of a better word, in terms of those people who've never used MailChimp before are at the 1 level. There'll be some stuff for you to take away and to think about. And even if you're at the 3, 4 or 5 level, there'll be stuff that you can actually go. So some good general stuff to go through here. And then once we've done this, it may raise some questions, but hopefully we'll be able to answer some of the stuff that we've got. So without further ado, we'll bounce in. So like I said, I'm going to focus on something that I call the 9 mistakes of MailChimp. So these are the 9 things that me, having spent a lot of time working with MailChimp, a lot of time with different types of users, these are the things that I've picked up that basically cause MailChimp people problems when it comes to using MailChimp. Okay, so let's get into it. The 9 mistakes of MailChimp. Let's wait for my computer to slowly work through. There we are. Right, so just to give you a bit of background, because I can see a couple of you have said, I see Joe, you've said that you've not actually used it, and quite a few of you are at the, how shall we say, they're getting the ball rolling with regards to MailChimp. All right, MailChimp is probably one of the oldest internet businesses that's out there. It's been around one form or another for nearly 20 years. And it is, as far as anyone can say, it is the biggest email marketing system, or EMS, in the world, and it's got over 10 million users, which obviously shows that it seems to be doing something right. So why has it got those 10 million users? Well, first of all, because it's good at what it does. MailChimp sends emails. It allows you to create and send them and get them delivered. That's its kind of like reason for existence. So it's very clear and good at making sure that that is covered. It's pretty much free for all functionality. So certainly one of the great things about MailChimp is that if you've never done any sort of emailing, it's fantastic to cut your feet, to kind of like get your feet wet and just have a play. Even though they've changed some of the things recently, they've made it so that it, you can still get pretty much what you need to at the free level. And it is robust. It has been around for a long time. The system does work. It's not going to break down. And also, because it's been around for a long time, it plays well with lots of other systems. It integrates really nicely. But the one thing you need to remember about MailChimp is that it's not perfect. All right? I'm not sitting here, I've used it, like I said, for 10 years. I'm not going to sit here and say that MailChimp is the best thing ever. It's good for certain things. It's not good for others. So you may find that some of the things that you may want to do, because of where you are in your using of email marketing, you want to go to the next level. I'm not going to sit here and say, don't bother, or stick with MailChimp. It's what's right for your business and right for what you want to do. So focus on that, focus on what it is. Most of the time, it does the job well. But if you do have problems with MailChimp, a lot of the time, it's not actually MailChimp's problem. It's yours. And this is kind of like I always say, MailChimp essentially is a computer system. So if you're struggling with MailChimp, or MailChimp's not doing what you want, well, MailChimp's not just doing it for the purpose of getting on your nerves and really winding you up. That's just MailChimp. And like any other system, once you get to know it, once you get to know the way it works, it will work for you. So if you're shouting at the computer, say, I think MailChimp's useless, then my usual response is, well, have you actually given it a chance to really get into it? Okay, so 9 mistakes that I've identified from regular conversations that I see when I go into people's accounts and assess them. There's no particular order to these. These are just basically the most common ones. But to be quite frank, I could sit here and do this for 3 hours and talk about 29 different mistakes. There are lots of things that I see that people could do better. But these are the main ones that if you're playing around, you should do. All right. Just before we go into it, I'll give you a little bit of background about who I am. I know I mentioned at the start of where I am. There's some of the things I am. If you're based over in America, and I know a few of you are, any excuse I've got to come and visit you, I will take. I'm a massive American sports fan, a big American football fan, and I'm also big into scuba diving as well, to the point where I've been an instructor and a published photographer. And one of the great things about being an underwater scuba instructor is when someone turns around to you and says, Robin, I can't do this. Can you teach me? Usually my response is, yeah, I can do, because trust me, trying to teach someone how to use MailChimp is a lot easier than trying to convince someone who doesn't like water to put their head under the water and trust that they'll still be able to breathe. So kind of like, it's not difficult. Been marketing my entire life, focusing small businesses, started using MailChimp about 10 years ago, and really drilled down into MailChimp kind of like 4 years ago, developing Chimp Answers, which now, as far as I'm concerned, is the second biggest resource of MailChimp related information and training and support outside of the MailChimp website itself. So that's kind of like, if you've got 2 minutes and you want to go there, there's lots of really useful information. Also, I launched the Facebook group over 4 years ago, which is kind of like my main way of keeping in contact with people. And a lot of the questions and things that I come up today will have come from that MailChimp group and what people have actually posted. I'm sure one of the things Mark values a lot is the community, because you get great feedback from the community and it allows you to basically improve. If you do want to join the group, go and visit chimp.tips/FB group, or just go into Facebook and search MailChimp Answers. Free to access, free to entry, great there. So pretty much I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt when it comes to MailChimp, and pretty much if you've got a MailChimp question, I've probably got a pretty good answer to what's actually going on. And as I said at the start, I'm a certified MailChimp partner and expert. So let's get into those mistakes. So the first mistake is that you end up, or you build your MailChimp account with more than one audience. All right. This is kind of like my, for want of a better word, my number one key thing that I always bang on about with people, because it's so important. Okay. Now, we all understand the importance of segmenting in marketing, hopefully. The more specific you are in communication, the more opportunities you've got to persuade someone to actually take an action. All right. So segmentation is good. No problems there, no questions there at all. But obviously, if you're going to segment your database, you need to find a way of doing it in MailChimp. So what is the best way? Well, if you do it by having lots of different audiences, then you're going to have lots of problems. So I say a lot of the time, mo audiences, mo problems. Because audiences are not the best way to segment your database, but unfortunately, that's where most people start. Now, I'll be honest, this is less of an issue now if you're on the free account, because it used to be that you could have lots of different audiences on the free account in MailChimp. Now you can only have one. So this problem is less of an issue. But if you've been using MailChimp for a while, you've got a legacy account or whatever, you basically want to make sure that you're not causing too many issues from a, kind of like MailChimp account. The audience is essentially the core building block of MailChimp. So people will subscribe or unsubscribe from a list in your audience. So if you've got two audiences and people are appearing on both audiences and they unsubscribe from one, well, technically, according to GDPR, you need to go and delete them from the other. But you can't do that automatically. So you've got to manually do it, which is why we try and aim to have just one audience. You obviously send emails to a specific list or audience. That's the way that MailChimp structured it. But unless you've got a very good reason, you should only have one audience. All right. So, all right. Well, if you've got one audience, what does that mean from a segmentation point of view? Just waiting for my presentation to catch up. Come on. This is the point where I press it 3 times and then I kind of like realise it'll go through about 4 different bullet points. It's always the way from a technology point of view.
No, it's going great, buddy. Keep it up as some great.
Yeah, okay, right. So most people, like I said, will segment with multiple audiences, which causes problems if you want to send to everyone. And like I said, also from an unsubscribe point of view, there's problems there. The solution is to actually have one single audience or list, and then use groups or tags to segment. Now, I'm not going to get into tags and groups and which is the best one and which is the worst one, as it were. I'm not going to kind of like, that's not the format for this isn't the format for that. But if you're using either tags or groups to segment your audience and be able to identify, so, if the type of businesses you're in, trying to segment between a business traveler or a leisure traveler or a holiday traveler, they'll want different messages. So being able to identify those two people in a database and send a different message to each of them, they're going to be much more interested if that's what you kind of like do. Whereas if you just basically send all of them the same email, you're going to struggle in terms of actually getting something across. Basically, tags and groups allow you to segment everyone. And as long as you've got the right information in there, obviously, we can make sure that you can actually communicate with the various different people there and segment effectively. Because segmentation, as far as I'm concerned, is the key to success with marketing. Because segmentation leads to relevance, and relevance leads to results. So you want to basically have one audience and a number of tags or groups to succeed with any sort of email marketing, especially with MailChimp. That's just the way it's structured. All right, so that's the first one. Mistake number 2, I've christened wanton chimp abuse. All right. So this is basically where people trying to get MailChimp to do something it's not designed to do. So you don't want to mess with the chimp. MailChimp does one thing really, really well. It sends emails. That's what its heritage is. That's what it's always done. So realistically, if that's what you want to do, great. But don't mess with MailChimp. Anything that you do which is going to impact MailChimp's ability to send emails, MailChimp won't like. All right? You've got to make sure that you're on the good side of the chimp, as it were. So, for example, if you've got a load of people that haven't consented to receiving emails and you load them into MailChimp, MailChimp will get very grumpy because you're trying to send a load of emails to people who haven't bought in. Yeah, so you've got to be very careful from that side of things. If you send a lot of spam, and I'm sure no one in this group has ever considered spending spam, but if you do, MailChimp will know, MailChimp will slap you on the wrist, and MailChimp will shut down your account. All right, so you've got to make sure that when you're doing it in an ethical way, because MailChimp will find out if you've done something wrong. And when they do find out, they will shut your account down. So don't mess with the chimp. It's very easy for people to kind of like go, oh, I've got this database that someone's provided for me, and they are bad, or the people haven't opted in. Don't load emails like that into MailChimp. They will find out. And you just want to be what I call an ethical email marketer. Don't spend spammy emails because, again, MailChimp will know. They'll look at the content. They've got this system called Omnivore, which is a technological system which basically looks at stuff. And because they've got that many users, they understand where things are going. So you don't even want, if you go networking to people and you want to add them to your database, you don't really want to do that unless you've got some form of approval that says they're happy to be added. Yeah, so basically, hopefully that you get the message here. Don't try and mess with the chimp. Don't try and do things that aren't good for it. Make sure that people have consent. And I know that a number of people, when I was looking at the questions before we started, 1 or 2 people were talking about GDPR. And this basically aligns with GDPR. GDPR, at its root, is about ethical marketing. It's about making sure that when someone communicates, they're communicating above board. And this is what this is all about. You've got to make sure that when you send an email to someone, they're not going to turn around and say, who the hell are you? I've never given you my email address. Okay, so on to mistake number 3. No welcome mat. Right, the most important email that you ever send to someone is the first one. All right, so we're talking here about welcome messages. All right, if someone has signed up to your email list, however, whether they've registered on your website, whether they have inquired about something, whether they've given you their details and said, yes, send me them, kind of like they are telling you at that specific moment that they are into you. So why do you wait for a month or a couple of months to actually go, oh, I better send them an email and send them welcome? All right. I always use the analogy. It's like meeting the girl of your dreams and she gives you her phone number and says, I'm so into you. Please, please, please give me a ring. And then you leave it 3 weeks to give her a call. Now, kind of like there's always the, hey, I'm cool, I'm going to give it a couple of days, but you wouldn't leave it 3 weeks. You'd probably turn around and go, right, next day, I need to arrange something. I want to have a date. And that's what you're doing if you're not sending a welcome email. You really need to have that in place so that the first time someone's inquire, that's an automated email. You reply to them straight away. It's immediate. And as a consequence, they are already engaged with you. Too many people leave it. They don't have a way of getting people to the database straight away. And as a consequence, they struggle. So I know someone was talking about, can you connect? I was doing some research. I think Hostfully is one of the tools that you guys use quite a lot. How can you actually connect Hostfully into MailChimp to do this straight away? Well, that's something that you really, if you're using that and people are registering your site, you want to make that connection straight away. Because if someone goes through and registers on your website or on Hostfully or whatever, they're saying at that specific moment they're into you. If you don't get back to them with an automated message straight away, then you are missing out on a huge opportunity to, make the most of that relationship and to actually build on it. Okay, so welcome emails are really, really important. Welcome emails need to be immediate, and that's the reason why they need to be automated. Okay, and yes, Elaine, I'm just seeing that. Is there an automated way to do this? Yes, MailChimp will automatically do that if you set it that way. They obviously also need to be directly linked to when someone joins up. So some of you have probably come across things like lead magnets or things that you can offer to people in exchange for their email address. So you want to be able to actually make sure that whatever you're offering gets sent straight away. It's not delayed. Remember, I've gone to your website, I filled the form in. If you don't get back to me straight away, then I'm probably going to forget because I'm going to look at someone else's website. And suddenly, if they get back straight away, that gives you an opportunity to gazump that customer, as it were. Obviously, you want to make sure that you are explaining who you are and what makes you different. Why should they be booking with you as opposed to any other of the locations that there are around there? And you also want to make it interactive. You want people to click on them. You want people to go and visit your Facebook page or your Twitter feed or whatever. The reason being is that the first email is an indication of basically your future emails, and if you want to make sure your emails don't go into spam, or it certainly reduce the chances of going into spam, you want people to actually interact with that first email, because that's giving those email controllers who kind of like decide whether an email goes into spam. If you've opened an email and interacting it, that's a signal that says, hey guys, this email is something that is worthwhile, and future emails are more likely to get into the inbox. So that's another great reason why you want to make sure that your emails are automated. The bottom line is that welcome email is the most important email you will ever send. So if you do nothing else from today, you want to make sure that you are tying up and getting those welcome emails sorted. They do have a big impact. Right, mistake number 4. A clean chimp is a happy chimp. Okay, your data cleanliness. All right, now probably you've never heard that phrase before. Certainly until I got into email marketing, I never really realized what it was before. But the fact is that your data is really valuable. You might want to make sure that people who are in your email list are opening your emails. But if they're not opening your emails, that's not a good thing. All right, so you actually want to stop hoping that they're going to open, and you actually want to start looking at how you can pretty much get rid of those people or try and re-engage them. So think about it. If you've got an email list of 1,000 and 500 people on that list are not opening your emails regularly, those 500 people are costing you money if you're on a paid MailChimp account. And also because they're not opening, they are basically sending a signal to the internet controllers that 50% of the emails that you send are not interesting. And that's a solid signal to say your emails aren't interesting. So you really want to make sure that your database is clean. A clean, happy chimp is what we're looking for. And this was the subject of the 5-day challenge, which I think a number of you participated in a month or two ago, which was all about cleaning your MailChimp database and getting rid of all those people who don't open emails, and actually kind of like giving them a chance to either say, yeah, I'm interested, or actually, you know what, I'm not interested anymore. So with MailChimp, you can identify people who haven't opened emails, and you can then send re-engagement emails to these people, giving them a chance to either say, yes, I'm still interested, or no, I'm not. I actually did a campaign. One of my clients is a hotel chain. There's 6 hotels, high-end, and they basically did this. They had a load of people on their database who hadn't opened, and they offered I think it was a 10% off voucher for anyone to re-incentivize them to keep engagement, and to continue to be on their list. Obviously, what that did was it helped people stay on the list and make sure they're opening engaged, but it also helped them drive a bit of traffic through their property as well. So that's great. So those people who don't engage, those people who don't get involved, I call these people zombies, then realistically you might want to consider getting them off your list, because to be quite frank, they haven't opened any of your emails now. They're probably not going to open them in the future. Just get rid of them. They're just sitting there collecting dust. You want to keep your list nice and clean. It really does have a big impact in terms of kind of like where you're going. And I did mention I was going to do a little bit on GDPR. I don't want to get bogged down in GDPR. I've spent, when GDPR was launched, I did 22 hour-long webinars talking about GDPR and MailChimp. So I'd like to believe I've kind of like done my GDPR chops. I've got my GDPR badge, as it were, and I can move on. But the fact is, GDPR here, it wasn't a one-off thing. It is something you need to be aware of. You need to be clear why someone is on your email list. You need to know where they signed up, and ideally, you need to make sure that they've got a chance to view your privacy policy at the point of signing up. And if you don't have a privacy policy on your website, that's something that I would consider is worthwhile adding. They need to be able to opt out easily. Obviously, with MailChimp, that's relatively easy, because the fact of the matter is that MailChimp gives you the unsubscribe link. And fundamentally, and this is just good practice, this is just good common marketing sense as far as I'm concerned, you need to be responsible and ethical in your data collection and your email marketing as a whole. If you're a nice, good, positive emailer, you're sending valuable stuff, you know what, that's going to benefit you down the future. Right, mistake number 5. What happens next? This is kind of like my my overall view of marketing. All right, my mantra for marketing, in fact, I've already joked, if I ever write a book, it will be called What Happens Next. Because every email you send should either be an email that develops a customer relationship, so add value to it, telling her that, or something that's going to be purely about branding. Okay? But you want to make sure that when you're sending an email, you know why you are sending it, and you know what your expected result is going to be. You know, what's the point of sending this email? Is it that you want them to book? Is it the fact that you want to offer them a voucher or a discount? Is it the fact that you're promoting a specific type of event? Is it something, kind of like, is it something going on in your area that you want to talk about and get people to actually come? Okay, so basically, if you're in business, your email is either going to be talking about brand, in which case you're not really trying to measure something, you're just trying to position yourself, or you're trying to get someone to take an action. And one of the biggest problems I see with MailChimp emails is that there's too many emails that are soft, too many emails that are brand focused, and not enough for actually promoting a what happens next or a specific action. Every response email you send should have a clear next step, and a next step after that, and the next step after that. And obviously using things like buttons and links and using video links in your emails are great ways of promoting someone actually taking an action when that email has actually gone through. Okay, so don't worry about it. Right, this is a quick one. Don't press send. All right? Now, hang on a minute. I'm talking here about email marketing. Surely I've got to press send at some point. All right? If you are on a paid account with MailChimp, you get the option to, whenever you've created an email, either to send it now or to schedule it at some point in the future. Okay, now when you're creating an email, it's very easy to go, written that email, that's great, that's a brilliant email, I'm going to press send right now. Okay, and if you're on a free account, then unfortunately that's the only option you've got. All right, but once you've planned, designed and tested your email, you really want to try and avoid sending it straight away. And the reason being is that the majority of emails out there are not actually time sensitive. And when I say not time sensitive, I mean if you send it at 4 o'clock today or 5 o'clock today, it's not going to have a big impact in terms of open rates and other bits and pieces like that. So what I would advise you do is, instead of pressing send, just schedule it for 15 minutes in the future and go and make yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Because I guarantee what will happen is that you'll be there stirring your teacup and actually thinking, oh crap, I forgot to put that into the email. And when you say that, if your email's already gone, then there's a problem. Whereas if you schedule it for 5 minutes 15 minutes into the future, it gives you that space to go, oh, actually, you know what? I am going to change that. I am going to do something about that. So please don't just send an email straight away. Right. This one is going to be how shall we say, a little controversial. All right. There is a mistake that everyone seems to think that their emails need to be pretty. All right. They don't. Emails do not need to be pretty. That doesn't mean to say that you can't add images, and certainly when you're in in the business that you're in, having physical, having images and information about the area and using some of that is worthwhile. But I guarantee the more time you're spending on making an email look good, the less time you're spending on the content. And you know what? Content is what it's about. So you want to make sure that you're concentrating on the content and you're getting people to engage with the content. I always jokingly say, think about the best email that you've received in the last year. Well, actually, no, sod that, in the last month. All right. Best email I received in the last month was one from my best mate telling me that, kind of like he was we're going to go and play golf for the first time after shutdown. That had got nothing to do with graphics. That had got nothing to do with anything of that. The message was what mattered. So you want to make sure that your message that you're putting to your emails is effective and good. And the words that you're using are actually driving some form of action. And not sitting there worrying about the fact that this border on the left-hand side is not aligned perfectly with the border on the right-hand side. Yeah? That is where you're spending a lot of time and effort, and it is not adding value. Now, again, if you're a visual business, I'm not saying, and you guys generally are a visual business, I'm saying don't try and add images and make them look pretty, but don't go overboard. Don't kill yourself trying to make the email look perfect when in actual fact you don't need to. All right? Right, getting to the end now, the last two. First of all, mistake number 8, forgetting mobile. So this is a great thing. When I do these presentations, I can still see Mark and I can still see his screen. I can see what he's doing. So I can see that he's doing, actually, I'm not going to tell you what he's doing. In fact, one or two of his habits I'm actually quite curious about. But he's just picked up his mobile phone to check, which is quite good because I'm talking about he's grinning away now. The fact of the matter is that most emails are read on a phone. Strangely enough, though, MailChimp doesn't make it easy to look what an email looks like on a phone. You design it in their desktop view. So I know over 50% of emails are opened on a phone for the first time. So simply put, if you're not taking that into account, a lot of people who are opening your emails may look at them and go, that doesn't look very good, because you've not tested it and checked to make sure that it looks good in email. All right, you want to make sure that you are using the preview function within MailChimp and are able to actually look at what your email looks like when you send it to a mobile phone. All right, because if you don't, it's going to fail. It's not going to work. Okay, so just wait for this. Yeah, okay, so make sure that you test and preview in mobile. Send it to yourself and look at it on your own phone. That's a good way of doing it, just to check. If you're on the paid function, you can have a look at inbox. Also, what you want to do is make sure that you use MailChimp to tell you how people are opening your campaign. And of course, now that my slides have gone too quickly, I've gone through that bit. But basically, what you need to know is that MailChimp will actually show you how your emails are being opened. And I had 2 specific campaigns for 2 of my customers, one which was being opened, I think, at 80% on mobile, and another one which was being opened at 20% on mobile. All right, so you need to use the information that MailChimp provides you, and you can go into your account and look at that to see how people are actually engaging with your email. And if they are using mobile, then you want to definitely make sure it's done. Right, last one, which is more of a marketing one, and I'm sure it's something that Mark bangs on about regularly. Okay, and that's, who are you sending your email to? Do you really know who your audience is and what they're going to respond to? Because an email fundamentally needs 3 things. It needs a message, it needs a sender, and it needs a recipient. And bad emails forget about the recipient. Bad emails do not take account of who you're sending it to. This is where going through exercises like customer avatars are really, really powerful, because they allow you to get under the skin of who you're speaking to, and it makes sure that the content that you're doing in your emails is not about you, it's about the benefits that you're delivering to them. If you don't understand your audience, and like I said, I'm sitting here saying this is a mistake with MailChimp, it's just a general marketing mistake. People spend too much time focusing on their own business and what they're great at, and not translating that into a benefit for your customers. So you need to identify your avatars and make sure that you're speaking them in your marketing. I can see Mark nodding away in the background at this one. If you're not taking that into account, if you don't know your avatar, you're going to struggle. If you do know your avatar, then you're going to be able to tailor the content specifically to those avatars and making sure that the information there. You know what's going on. You know their hopes and fears. You know the fact that they've been in lockdown for the last 3 months, and they're just desperate to get away and go somewhere and just suddenly have a holiday, which they're probably not going to be able to go overseas as much. They know why they're coming to you. They may have family in the area, or they may have other reasons. You'll know the problems that they've got and the objections they're going to agree with. And you also know the questions they're going to ask before they even come to you. Do you take care, can I bring my dog along? Or can I, have you got something else there? The fact is that if you know all that stuff, you can focus the content of the email on them and talk in terms that resonate with them. The fact is, we can sit here and we can look at MailChimp and go, oh, MailChimp's great, or MailChimp's useless, or whatever, it doesn't do this, or whatever. But the fact of the matter, the number one reason your emails don't work is because what's in them. It's got nothing to do with technology. If you understand your audience, not just in emails, but in every aspect, your websites, your brochures in Postfully or whatever, everything that you do, your Facebook ads, if you take account of your audience first and foremost and bear them in mind at every point, you will succeed at your marketing. That is fundamental as far as I'm concerned. So hopefully you got the message. I'll get off my soapbox now and let Mark rattle something at you guys in the future. But I'm really passionate about this. If you don't know who you're speaking to, you're going to struggle. Right. So briefly, let's just go through those 9 MailChimp mistakes again. You should only now have one audience or one list. Don't add people to your database that haven't given you permission or that you don't even know is a valid email address. Make sure that you're doing welcome messages, because they are so important. Hanging on to people who you just hope and pray are going to open emails in the future, even though they haven't opened an email for the last 2 years. Making sure that you know what happens next. You want to make sure that you know what that is. You're pressing the send button when actually you should give yourself some space. You're spending too much time making your emails pretty and not enough on the content. You're ignoring mobile, where most people are opening their emails on mobile. And finally, and most fundamentally, you're forgetting the who. If you take that into account, if you do those things, you will actually benefit and have a much more successful email marketing plan. And if you want to get a copy of that presentation, being the email marketer I am, you can go to a nice landing page I've created. So the link there is chimp.tips/9 mistakes. Complete the details there. You'll get a copy of the PDF, and you'll also be added to my delightful email marketing newsletter. You'll get some nice welcome emails, which will give you a good indication. I'll sit here, guys. If you don't have a welcome automation, just sign up. Look at the first 3 emails that I send to give you an idea of what should be in a welcome automation, and unsubscribe. If you're not interested in my content, if you're reading my stuff and you go, oh, Robin's talking a load of balls here, that's fine, but use that as an inspiration for what you can do. I kind of use it as a way of explaining it. Yes, I know that's a cop-out, because some of you will then sign up to my list and I'll go, woohoo, you've signed to my list. But fact of the matter is that you can actually really sign up to some other people's lists, sign up to your competitors and see what they're putting in their emails, and use that as inspiration for yourself. And with that, I will now stop my screen share. Oh, there we go. Stop sharing. There we go. And hopefully I'm now back on screen.
You're back. That was amazing. Thank you very much, everybody. Everybody, please, can you just say thank you in the comments for that? Stick the thumbs up, use the emojis, do everything that you need to do. That was amazing. We went through 9 really quality tips there, and I think that the number 9 was definitely the most important. Who you are sending this to, who you are appealing to. Now, the good news is, and I saw Susan put this, is, well, I don't really know who my avatar is, finding the avatar. There's training in the vault on that. You can go and find it. It's finding your avatar. We've got a guest training with Paul, and we've got guest training with Monique. It's in there. You can go and find it. If you're struggling to find it, put up in the post in the group, and I'll direct you to it. It's simple. And as well, and I didn't tell you this before, Robin, but we also have email templates. It's one of the big things about the Boostly Academy is that I've worked with copywriters to create email templates for email automations. So many different kinds. How to get in front of corporate businesses. The Do You Know Anyone? There's so many email templates that is right in the Boostly vault. So again, if nobody has seen these yet, if nobody's used these yet, and again, we've got an expert here saying, do this, then this is the perfect time to go and drop the link in, go and use it. It's the vault, it's part of the package of what you sign up for. Go and definitely use it. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Now we did promise Q&A. The couple of questions that came up, and I was watching this during the live, and I've written them down. Number one, and I believe this was Nikki, but I didn't write down who sent it, but how can you merge your different audiences into one audience? Do MailChimp make it easy, or is this a bit of wizard play to do that?
They don't make it easy, but it's not hard. It's not kind of like hard either, to be honest. It's one of those things that if you know what you're doing, kind of like I said, I do this regularly. The key thing you got to remember is that when you're combining audiences, you want to make sure that you've got the same data fields. So, for example, say in one field you've got telephone number, in one audience you've got telephone number, in another audience you haven't got telephone number. You want to make sure that they're kind of like matched up, because if you're trying to move from one audience to another, it makes it, kind of like you want to make sure the data is robust, as it were. If you've got more than one or two audiences, what I would suggest is you actually export them all and combine them in an Excel spreadsheet. Sometimes MailChimp is a little bit clunky when it comes to doing stuff like that. So I actually recommend, don't worry about that. Just basically go and chuck them into a MailChimp database. But the one tip that I would say is that whenever you merge two audiences or a number of audiences, use either a tag or a group to identify the people who are in the old audience, as it were. All right, so you can still identify those. So if you've got an audience of people who booked on, booked on Hostfully, people who booked via Airbnb or whatever. Again, I don't know your market as well as you guys do, so you may turn around and say they can't do that. But if you've got these two audiences, MailChimp, when you combine them, you want to make sure that you're remembering where the information came from when you combine. So if you've got like an Airbnb list, a Hostfully list, and an Expedia list, as it were, when you combine them, make sure that in there you've got a tag that says this is where they come from. They're an Airbnb or a Hostfully or whatever.
Yeah. And just when Robin's saying Hostfully, again, Hostfully is a guidebook, it's a guest book. It's like a PMS, so it's not like a booking channel. But yeah, basically tag them. You utilize the tags. Now, definitely. Obviously, you're going to go to Robin's Facebook group after this, and Shirley has kindly put the links in the comments. And I assume, and I know that there's going to be lots of topics like this in that group that people can ask and find out more about. And obviously you've got the website as well, where you can go and ask these sort of questions on the website, and there'll be little guides on doing that. Now a good question that came in is, how can you tell on MailChimp who is opening the emails. This is a reporting question, and this is one of my favorite things about using software like MailChimp and SendFox and MailerLite, etc., is that the reporting tool is fantastic. Can you just break down a little bit and talk about that?
Yeah, the great thing about the reporting tool at MailChimp is that it does track that information. It does give you, so you can actually go into reports and you can click on a particular email, and it will show you how many people have opened and how many people clicked and which ones they've actually, which actual links they've got in the email. So, one of the things I found really useful with some clients is I send an email out to people on their behalf, and there's 3 links. They're the same link, but there's a link in kind of like the first line, and then there's a link in the middle, and then there's a PS saying, oh, if you've forgotten, click on here. And it's little things that you can use that to learn, because a lot of people clicked on the PS link. Now, that's not to say that they wouldn't have clicked on the other links, but you know what? By putting a PS into the email, they will certainly, kind of like click on it. So if you're not using that information, now the one thing that I would suggest is don't get too bogged down into the weeds. Don't get too much into the detail. Email marketing is a numbers game. All right. It's not about, for example, I'll give you a good example. The first time someone unsubscribes to your list, it's kind of like, all right, they don't like me. What have I done wrong? And then suddenly you realize that unsubscribes are a part of email marketing, and you don't worry about them anymore. So don't worry about individual people. Don't go through and go, oh, so-and-so didn't open this email and so-and-so didn't click on this link. Look at the overall open rates. And what you want to do is make sure that when you're looking at your performance over time, you want to try and make sure that you're getting a larger number of opens than you were on previous emails. All right. Open rate is a vanity metric. Open rate doesn't actually give you a lot of information, because open rate is a function of how much dead weight, how many zombies you've got in your audience. Whereas if you look at the number of people who are opening an email and the number of people who open the next email, and that second number is bigger, you're moving in the right direction, because that shows that your database is growing and the people are actually engaging with what you're doing. If, however, over time, the number of people who are opening your emails is decreasing, that's a sign that something's not working quite right. Okay, and you want to basically move things in the right direction. So don't worry too much about open rates, because I guarantee that my open rates and Mark's open rates for his emails are completely different. And the reason they're completely different is because we've got completely different audiences, completely different avatars who are going to engage differently with what I've done. So, if you've got a B&B in Harrogate, or you've got a chain of Airbnbs in, I don't know, Texas somewhere, you can't compare open rates for your emails. But what you can do is look individually and go, am I getting more people opening my emails?
Yeah, we would talk about a lot, the comparison game. The only people you can compare against is yourself. Don't worry about what others are doing. Now, I did send you some of the questions pre-training. You've obviously had a look through them. Are there any questions that you can answer? And anyone's
right. Couple of things. One, the key thing that seems to be coming up a lot, and it's the same with with every industry that I'm focused on, is the whole issue of what can I add to MailChimp and what can't I? So the whole area of permission, as it were. All right. Now, I don't want to, again, get too far into the weeds and stuff and actually, kind of like that. But the fact of the matter is that if you can get people's permission to communicate when they've purchased, when they've come and stayed with you, if you can get them even just to verbally say that they've actually happy to be added to your email list, then as far as I'm concerned, you're covering yourself. The fact of the matter is that GDPR and permission and people out there, they are focused on the people who have got millions of emails and who are completely and utterly basically flicking the V's, as it were, at the whole regulations. They don't care. All right. If you are being ethical and above board with what you're doing, if you are clear when someone gives you their email address, what you're going to do with it, and if you give them the opportunity to view your privacy policy at any time, then most of the time, and I say most of the time, pretty much all of the time, you're going to be safe. So don't worry too much about setting up, about permission in terms of the detail. If you feel on hand on heart that you've got these 500 people who've been added to that you've got, and you're confident and comfortable that you're being ethical in communicating them out into your database, then go for it. All right. So first of all, be above board. A number of the other ones have actually talked about the technology of how to integrate systems. So the only reason I mentioned Hostfully is because I saw someone comment about it in the group, and I believe even someone's talked about it now. I don't use Hostfully, obviously, so I can't comment on its integration with MailChimp, but one would hope that there is a direct connection between Hostfully or whatever tool that you use and MailChimp. And if that tool is live and when someone completes a form, it automatically pushes things to MailChimp, then great. We're on double bonus time there from that point of view. So kind of want to make sure that. Someone mentioned MailChimp pop-ups. All right. I always joke when I do live training sessions like this, I always say, hands up if you love pop-ups. And no one puts their hand up. And then I go, right, pop-ups make you more money. Hands up if you like pop-ups, and obviously everyone's hand goes up. Pop-ups are really effective if they're done in the right way. All right. Now, we were talking previously about AppSumo as a particular tool that's quite good for pop-ups. There's lots of pop-up makers out there. The one thing that I would advise you against using is MailChimp's built-in pop-up tool, because I actually did a post in my group earlier today. I said, here's what you need to know about the MailChimp pop-up tool. ... And they kind of like click them, read more, and it goes, don't use it. It's not a great tool. It hasn't been looked at for the last 3 to 4 years, and obviously technology's moved along. So if you're going to use pop-ups, and I recommend you use them, but use them tactfully and not just kind of like spamming them with lots of different messages. Pop-ups can really work, but get a good pop-up tool. You may have to pay for it, but in a lot of instances, paying for it will actually work because you'll get more people onto your database, and as a consequence, you'll have better kind of like relationships.
I'm going to jump in very, very quickly here. Obviously, before the live, we were chatting about pop-ups. AppSumo came up, sumo.com. Is there any others that you can recommend to people that from your research that you've been doing?
Right, simple question, simple here. If you've got a WordPress website and you want to embed forms into the WordPress website, and I know it's something that a lot of people do, you need to be either using Yikes Easy Forms, which is a free plugin, and we all like free, or you need to be using something like Gravity Forms, which is a paid plugin tool. Both of those are really, really good, and they allow you to tag people when they complete a form, which is the good thing. All right. In terms of pop-ups, I've used AppSumo. Great, nothing wrong with it. It just didn't fit me perfectly, and I've recently moved over to Opt-in Monster. Again, it's a paid level of pop-up, but it works very well. And this is the key thing. Probably number one question that I get asked in my Facebook group is, how do I connect up my form on my website to MailChimp to do what I actually want to do? Yeah. And I always advocate that whenever someone completes a form, wherever it is, you want to tag the person so that you know that that's the form they've completed. All right. Now, not many tools do this automatically. And that's the reason why I recommend things like, Opt-in Monster does. The two plugins that I've mentioned, Easy Forms from Yikes and the Gravity Forms, they do that. There are a number of other tools out there that do it, but don't be beholden to the tool that comes with the package that you've bought. So if you've bought a theme and there's a plugin that does forms there, don't automatically think that's the right one to use, because some of them don't work the way that you want to with MailChimp.
Yeah. Great answer. Now, is there any more in that little notepad?
The only other thing that someone's talked about, is it easy to move from MailerLite to MailChimp? I'll be blunt, I have no idea, because I've never used MailerLite. But the fact of the matter is, and this is something that kind of is probably a good way of wrapping up the Q&A, apart from anything else that's come through. It's not about the technology. It's never about the technology. I've had, when I do my regular calls with people, when they phone me up and we have a chat about me helping them, I always will use this phrase: do not let the tail wag the dog. Do not let technology dictate your marketing strategy. If the technology is not doing what it needs to do to give you the marketing that you need to put in place, change the technology. There are a million and one tools out there. There are how many different platforms for websites, so many plugins and other bits and pieces like that. Like email marketing tools, there are hundreds out there. MailChimp is the biggest, doesn't mean to say it's right for you. So when you're looking at using tools, make sure that you've got your strategy and you've got your plan right, and then find a tool that allows you to do it. Don't sit there and moan about a tool that's not allowing you to do something from a marketing point of view, because I guarantee that if you're prepared to spend a little bit of money, you can probably find one that does exactly what you need to. And I think, so I'm not sitting here saying MailChimp is the best or the worst. It works for me and it works for most of my clients. But if it doesn't work for you, don't be beholden to it. Get your marketing right and make sure the technology supports it.
Here's my question then. Bearing all that in mind. Now, you've obviously used MailChimp for many years. I've used MailChimp for many years. It used to have so many fantastic free functions, and
Yeah.
now they've slightly amended it. And obviously, there's a lot of things now behind the $9.99 paywall.
Yeah.
Bearing all that in mind, and bearing in mind that you know the pros and cons of everything, would you recommend the $9.99?
I would recommend the $9.99 when you need to use it, which is a cop out. No, I say that. The fact of the matter is that there are a number of things that MailChimp have moved behind the paywall, but fundamentally none of them will impact someone who's never done email marketing. And probably in a lot of instances, the people that you're working with, the people, all the people on this call, I pretty much guarantee that unless they've got a database of more than 2,000 people, they can do pretty much everything they want to within the free version of MailChimp. I'm working with a number of clients at the moment. I'm working with a Reading retailer in Norwich, kind of like they're basically one of the top Reading retailers. They've got a fantastic CRM system that does all the admin and reminder appointments and other bits and pieces. But they use MailChimp and they're using the free account. And I set it up to actually do everything they want to do. Yes, you've got to be a little bit clever and, kind of like know how to do it. But I would suggest that if you've never done it before and you're only looking at database-led 2000, there's no need to pay until you reach the point you need to pay, which should actually be the size of your database. So I would certainly suggest that everything I've talked about today, or nearly everything, as it were, you can still do at the free level.
There's one thing I want to say, and one question I've had is: are automations, that email automation, is that allowed on the free plan?
Yes.
Yes.
But there is a but in here. You can do automations on the free plan. All right. You can't do what I call sequenced automations. So, for example, say you wanted to send a chain of 4 emails in a welcome sequence. So you send one when they sign up, you send one a day later automatically, another one day after that, another one after that. All right. On the free account, you can't create one automation with those 4 emails. However, you can create 4 individual single automations, one which is triggered to go immediately, one which is triggered to go 1 day after, one which is triggered to go 2 days after, and one which is triggered 3 days after they join the list. So essentially, you're doing exactly the same thing, but you're doing it within the parameters of their free account. And the reason I know that, that's exactly what I did with this Reading retailer. They had a sequence of 5 emails that they wanted to do from a welcome sequence point of view, but they don't have enough people to justify going up to the paid level. So I was like, well, let's just work around. And that's the way that you work around. You create individual automations. You can't have them like sequentially, but you can kind of like build them as single ones, which ironically, if you know kind of like anything about MailChimp history, that's how you used to have to do automations before they kind of like changed it about 5 years ago.
Yeah. So the sequential automation that we're talking about, yes, the email templates that we have in the vault. And there are some that are set up as soon as they join your list. That is what Robin is a sequential one. Now, one thing that I will say is every other one of those templates, you can do it where you can manually set it up and just send it out over a 5 or 6 day period. It doesn't matter at what point they join your list for that. And they all do become clear. I do lay that out in the different templates that we have. One of the templates is there for your PMS, so your property management software. So that's
Yeah.
basically the booking engine, Robin. That's what works in the back end. So with things like free to book, they have email automations or trigger messages, as they like to call them, in the PMS, so you can use that there. Now, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Obviously, people know the Facebook group to go to, where they can go ask more
Yeah.
questions. Again, can you just give us that name of that group for one more time?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, if you're lazy, you can type in chimp.tips/FB group, and that will take you direct to it. Or you can just go to MailChimp. Sorry, go to Facebook, search MailChimp answers in your search bar. It'll be the biggest group. It's nearly 10,000 there. There's a couple of questions that I ask for people to get entry. I'll go in and approve them either tonight or tomorrow morning. You'll get access, and there's masses of information in there. I've probably not done as good a job as I should have done in terms of filing it and structuring it. But if you, for example, I've seen a couple of people been talking about Jotform. If you go into that group and just do a search for Jotform, chances are that you might find some posts that are directly related to how to use Jotform or whatever. It is built a resource over time. And what I always say to people as well is that I take my inspiration for the content and the blog posts that I write because of what's in that group. And if someone asks a really good question that's not been asked before, I'll actually go and write a blog post on it and actually talk about it. Because if you're facing that problem, there's probably other people who are facing that problem as well.
Yeah, amazing. So that's the group. We've got the link where everybody can go to get on board with this presentation from tonight. And also, as well, a little birdie tells me that you might potentially be going to a conference out in the Midwest.
Yeah, I have. Yes. I'm an understudy for a very impressive and hardworking individual who just can't make it this time, as it were. But I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, the world calms down a bit and we are able to travel internationally. But no, that's fantastic. I'm really chuffed about that. I've managed to earn one or two little fans in here, which is quite nice.
Yeah, which is great. And if you want to find out more about Robin, obviously go to there. If you want to find out more about the conference that's going to be in the Midwest, it's Julie Mills Rolson. You know who to contact. And for everybody that is with Infusionsoft right now, I know that a lot of people came into my world because of the previous coaching programs that they were on. They were encouraged to sign up to Infusionsoft, which is about £125 a month just to get into it. Now, I firmly believe that for 90% of the people in this group, you do not need Infusionsoft.
Couldn't agree more.
I don't use Infusionsoft. I use ActiveCampaign, which is like the step down from Infusionsoft. And for example, I've got one of the most complex email marketing systems that is out there with ActiveCampaign, with everything that goes on. And I don't even use Infusionsoft. I believe that for 90% plus people in this group, MailChimp is ideal. It's perfect. The free one is ideal. I personally think everybody should be going for the $9.99 because it gives you a little bit of variation on the audiences. You can easily separate people into previous guests, potential new guests, people who have joined you from a giveaway, and then you've got some real clear signifiers on who's who. Tags and automations are all fantastic. And again, if we base it all on return of investment, everybody should know now the power of return investment on email. It's fantastic. It has always been the best marketing tool, and it will always be the best marketing tool. And the main reason is it is a no noise. When you do social media marketing, there's a ton of noise. When you do things like SEO, there's a ton of noise. When it's email, when that guest opens that email, for the amount of time that they've kept it open, as long as you've written a good email that Robin alludes to, then you've got a hooked one-on-one attention, and they can get it on their computer, their phone, their tablet, wherever. And again, it's not so much the tools, it's not so much the open rates. Is if you write a good email, then you will grab their attention. And if you do that job well and you sign off with a really good, clear call to action, as we call it, then you are going to get a lot of bookings. And the proof is in the pudding. Just look at the post from Julie Mills Rolson. Just look at the post from Melanie Benwell over the course of the last 24 hours, I think without me going back on it, I believe it's £7,000 worth of new direct bookings on the base of a 1 or 2 emails that has been sent out this week, which
Fantastic.
if you look at that return of investment on what you pay for potentially MailChimp, just to go to that next level up, and I'm not talking going 40, £50 a month, $9.99. You know, it's 2 pints or whatever you like to drink. Then it really has got a massive return of investment on there. All right, Robin, buddy, I really appreciate it. If anybody wants to go find out more, please do go check him out. It's been fantastic. This has been one of our most watched live trainings, so thank you. But it just shows how important it is. Email is so important to be using it now, and you can come back on this video time and time and time again. For those of you that want to go get these email templates, it's in the vault now. For those of you that want to go watch the customer avatar training, it's in the vault now, and this will be added into there as well. Any final words, buddy, before we let you go?
Don't let technology get in the way of a good marketing strategy. That's the key thing. If you know your customer, if you know your product, if you know how to speak to them, and if you've got a clear way of transitioning people who don't know you to where you actually want them to be, where they're raving fans of you, technology is just a tool that supports that. So you find the right tool that's working for you, and make sure that you're using it in the way that you want to and not being dictated by it. And if you do that, you will succeed.
All right. Can everybody please just finish the last end of this live by just saying thank you to Robin. I want you to, everybody, let me know what your main takeaway is from this live in the comments. Which one of those 9 things resonated a lot to you? And also as well, let me know, when are you going to be sending your next email campaign? With everything that I've been talking about over the last 24 hours on Facebook, with a very, very recent survey that came out, obviously for those watching a replay, 17th of June, this is being recorded. A recent survey came out, 67% of travelers want to hear from you. This is your guest as saying, we want to hear from you, as in, what are your new policies post-lockdown? What are your cleaning protocols post-lockdown? What are your booking policies post-lockdown? What are you doing? They want to hear from you. So utilize what Robin has told you here. You can do it in a blast via MailChimp, or you can even spend the time out of your day to send personalized one-on-one emails or texts or social media, whatever you want to do. Start doing it. This is a fantastic way of doing it. So, buddy, thank you very much.
Loved it. Love doing this stuff. Thanks for the opportunity, and good luck, guys.
All right, we'll leave it there. Speak to you all very soon.